Right around your 35th birthday, a silent biological countdown begins. Deep inside your frame, your bone matrix begins to thin and develop microscopic fractures. The standard medical response to this decline is usually a calcium supplement, a daily walk, and the instruction to accept physical weakness as a standard feature of aging. Henry, a 68-year-old teacher, followed this protocol for 2 decades. He walked 40 minutes every single day. Yet a simple trip on a sidewalk resulted in a shattered wrist. A body composition scan revealed the actual cause. Henry's fracture was the visible symptom of sarcopenia, severe hidden muscle loss. On the right, his scan shows a skeletal structure lacking the vital muscle tissue seen in a healthy 30-year-old on the left. Modern medicine often views our skeletons as static scaffolding. In reality, your bones and muscles are living, dynamic tissues that demand specific, constant inputs to maintain their strength. When you stop providing these 5 biological inputs, your body begins to dismantle its own structural integrity. The first essential input is mechanical demand. For most adults, walking is a baseline activity. It does not provide the level of physical stress required to signal the body to build new bone. This is Julius Wolff. Over a century ago, he established Wolff's Law, which proves that bone tissue will only adapt and rebuild itself when it is forced to carry heavy loads. We can see the consequences of removing that load by looking at NASA's mission control records for long-term spaceflight. In the weightless environment of space, astronauts experience space osteoporosis. Without gravity to provide a mechanical load, their bodies can lose decades of bone density in just a few months. On Earth, the biology remains the same. To trigger the cellular signal to build, you must subject your framework to heavy resistance and physical impact. Without the stress of heavy mechanical load, the cells responsible for maintaining your physical structure go on strike. However, mechanical demand is ineffective if the body lacks the raw material to execute the repairs. This is the second input, material supply. As we age, we develop anabolic resistance. Our muscles become insensitive to protein, as shown in this chart. While a 30-year-old triggers growth with a small amount of protein, a 60-year-old requires over 30 grams in a single meal just to initiate the synthesis process. Most healthy diets for older adults, light salads or a piece of toast, fail to reach this critical threshold. On the chart, you can see a 15-gram meal failing to trigger the necessary signal for the 60-year-old. Bone density follows a similar chemical logic. Calcium relies entirely on vitamin D for absorption. If your blood levels are at a standard 30 rather than an optimal 50 to 80, your body will struggle to move that calcium into your system. Absorbing calcium is only half the battle. In this diagram, vitamin K2 and magnesium act as traffic cops, physically routing calcium particles away from your artery walls and locking them directly into the bone matrix. The third input is the regulators. Hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and thyroid act as the site foreman. When these levels drop in middle age, the entire construction project stalls. Attempting to fix bone loss with only a calcium pill is like delivering a pile of bricks to a construction site that has no cement and no workers. The fourth input is the power grid. Synthesizing new bone and muscle tissue is a metabolically expensive process that requires immense cellular energy from our mitochondria. This biological reconstruction primarily happens during deep sleep. This is the singular biological window where growth hormone spikes, and your body begins the energy-intensive work of knitting muscle fibers back together. The fifth input is software overload. Your physical structure is directly tied to the emotional and psychological stress your nervous system is processing. For 8 years, Henry was the primary caregiver for his mother, who suffered from dementia. He carried a profound, silent burden of emotional grief and chronic pressure. This flowchart shows the chemical cost of that stress. Chronic pressure triggers a sustained spike in cortisol, a hormone that actively breaks down muscle tissue and blocks the pathways your body uses to remodel bone. When your mind feels unsupported, your body's physical framework eventually stops supporting you. Frailty is not a one-way street. It is a reversible biological process that can be managed by addressing these 5 specific inputs. The physical blueprint is clear. Engage in heavy resistance training 2 to 3 times a week, and ensure every meal contains at least 30 grams of protein. Internally, you must optimize your levels of vitamin D, K2, and magnesium, protect 8 hours of sleep, and treat chronic emotional stress as a direct threat to your physical health. After 1 year of heavy lifting, optimized nutrition, and processing his grief, Henry achieved a verified increase in bone density. For the first time in a decade, his structural framework was growing stronger instead of weaker. Protecting your musculoskeletal system is the ultimate defense of your independence, your mobility, and your dignity as you age.